On a property 2 hours west of Melbourne, one man is on a rewilding mission. Here, bandicoots and batons roam free. But there's a problem. His wildlife licence was only for caged animals.
There's no rules saying you can't put them in a big cage. So I thought, I've done the right thing. I've got the animals in a big cage, they're free roaming and they're happy. Can you turn the electric fence off, please? I've never built a fence like this before, so I just studied a bit and looked for plans on cat and fox proof fences. I've got a lot of blisters from it. I just thought, bring animals back that used to be here. Other sanctuaries, bigger sanctuaries have done it, so I thought there was no problems with me doing it. Deaker camps seem to keep changing their mind on what I've done. They don't like what I've done now, apparently.
Roy used his advanced wildlife licence, provided by Victoria's Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action, typically used to keep pets, to legally obtain animals for his sanctuary. But what Pales did with them next exposes a major loophole for people looking to rewild their properties. He released the animals inside the feral-proof fenced area where they roam and breed freely. And while that may sound idyllic, it poses all kinds of headaches for regulators and scientists who fear the practice could result in starvation, overpopulation and inbreeding.
At the moment they're asking to cage them into small cages. That was not the whole idea of the project. It wasn't about making a zoo. There's no way I want to cage them.
This is not the first time Roy has had a run-in with Victoria's Environment Department. In his previous life as a pet shop owner, Roy pleaded guilty to a number of breaches to the terms of his wildlife licence, including selling wildlife not included on his licence and displaying protected wildlife at his shop.
I actually have a snake named after me, Sedecus palsii, which is in the black snake family.
The reintroduction of animals to the landscape with no government approval is known as guerrilla or rogue rewilding. Stories of guerrilla rewilding have emerged overseas, but the practice is usually done in secret. But Roy's been found out by Victoria's State Environment Department. Victoria's Chief Conservation Regulator says they have significant concerns about animal welfare and the conservation value of the activities at Roy's property.
They're not helping out people that want to do this sort of thing. There's no support, there's no licence for it at the moment. Yes, I am aware of other people who've got these sort of sanctuaries.
But he won't name names.
This morning we're heading out pretty early because we put some traps out last night, and those traps are targeting the golden bandicoot, which is one of our species. We're actually quite surprised it's done extraordinarily well.
So we'll just scan it, Richard, and see if it's someone that we know.
And then the plan is that we'll take these ones to the wild training zone and release them tonight.
Yeah.
We have to go through a lot of approvals to obviously build the fences here in the middle of a national park. But I guess in this sort of grey area where people have sanctuaries and they're moving animals around, it just doesn't seem right that they're able to do that.
Got another boy.
It seems to me that governments really haven't got that area sorted out.
Just in front of that tow pad there, to the back of the hill.
And so then we can then attach a really big antenna to this when we're out in the field, and we can listen for that beep and we know where that individual is.
I've got real problems about any sort of rewilding that isn't transparent and rigorous, and I think we need to know if things work or they don't work. And my problem with some of this guerrilla rewilding is it's just happening and people are throwing things in. No one's actually looking at whether it was a success or failure. What happened to the animals? Did they survive? What was the animal welfare outcomes? And I think That's a real danger, is that you create a sort of cowboy world where people can do whatever they like and you don't actually get good outcomes.
He's outraged cat lovers and probably made as many enemies as friends over his eccentric approach to conservation.
Oh, I don't care what people think. I mean, that's irrelevant to me. I mean, my job's to save wildlife, not to worry about what people think.
John Walmsley from the Adelaide Hills in South Australia is one of the country's original guerrilla rewilders.
If we gave the job of growing food, supplying our food to the government, we would all expect to die of hunger. I mean, there's no other way about it. And yet we take the most important asset we have, our wildlife, and we give them to the government.
His anti-government private conservation belief system, as well as his hatred for feral cats, made him a recognisable face in the 1980s.
You've only got to look at the record to see that. We don't have a government in Australia that gives a damn about nature.
I suppose watching John Walmsley when he started off, and you could see he was doing something and he's made a difference. That, you know, there's some of those animals, if he hadn't started, wouldn't be here.
Has John ever given you any opinions on what you've been up to?
No, not a lot, but yeah, he just said you're in for a fight. It's just fight and, you know, just keep going until you get it across.
I think there was about 40 government departments or something I had to get approval from, and that takes time. What I decided to do after that was just, all the time, was to build these sanctuaries without approval, and that way it's a lot easier to gain forgiveness than it is to gain approval, especially if you can get the media on side.
What DEEC are asking now, I've got 3 options. So they've given me, one option is to get rid of all the animals. Second option is to put them all into small cages. And the other option, they're saying that my animals are actually genetically not very good and I have to get rid of the animals and then I can reapply for a licence.
Scientists say projects such as Roy's are unscientific and could result in animals being harmed.
Look, it sounds like it's not nearly a big enough area. They're all sort of either feeding on vegetation or perhaps invertebrates, so there'll be a lot of competition going on. And I'd be really worried about their long-term welfare and their survival in terms of a rewilding project.
Roy is already facing severe problems with population control at his sanctuary. The drought is also affecting food availability.
The last 2.5 years, I can't bring any animals in. I can take animals can go out. I can't bring anything in, so if that continues to go, well, I will start inbreeding. Yes, I am concerned about the overpopulation.
Problems like this have plagued rewilding attempts from the beginning.
I'd even let them all destroy themselves or to shoot 75% of them. So at that stage I probably shot half the western brush-tailed bettongs left in the world. I shot that day, yeah. And I had tears in my eyes doing it, but there was nothing else I could do. There is a management issue. If you put up a fence around and put animals in it, then you become responsible.
At another rewilding project in Mount Wilson in New South Wales, issues around the longevity of these private projects have come to a head. Here, Palmer wallabies, threatened with extinction, move freely, safely behind a fence.
This is my dad's private wildlife sanctuary. It's predator-proofed by electric fence, and he's had the property with the Palmers in it for around 54 years, I think, I could say roughly. I believe Dad really had the very first endangered wildlife sanctuary in Australia, privately owned.
Oh. Pete, look, aren't they fantastic?
Yeah. The population did breed up to about 300 Palmers. They do breed very, very well. and the responsibility is huge. Dad's 88 now, so it is just too much for him now.
The family called for help a couple of years ago, with an animal rescue group and New South Wales National Parks stepping in to feed the animals and translocate them.
They started the trapping and they did the first lot where there was 17 animals. There's about 64 left at the moment that we understand. They're breeding all the time, so it's always going to be under or overestimated slightly. There's going to be a total of 30 left after the next capture, and then with the remaining 30, I'm hoping that they will be translocated as well to other sanctuaries. In order to run a place like this, you do have to have a lot of money. It takes serious money to be able to maintain a place like this. You know, this whole reserve needs refencing, everything, and there is just no way that we could take that on. I do think that there's a time for everything. The breeding would not stop, and we would have to get national parks involved constantly. It is best that they go to proper sanctuaries that are managed by national parks.
I think this is one of the big challenges for private areas that don't have that sort of backdrop of longevity. And if you have a private sanctuary and things go pear-shaped for the animals or even personally, and you can't afford to do it anymore, what happens? Unless there's a sort of symptomatic rush to try and deal with it from a government point of view, there's no solution. If you get it wrong, you can do a lot of damage. It needs to be properly regulated as wildlife licensing should be, and not sort of, if you like, just shifted into a pet license or any other sort of license that might allow you to get through a loophole.
We're going to be protecting so many more endangered animals. If we get rid of some of this paperwork, they're protecting them to extinction, because can't do nothing. So time you can finally get 3 or 4 years down the track, it could be gone.
It's probably also a response by people wanting to do the right thing for the environment and not realising just how complicated it is. How do we actually get that right so that individuals can do the right thing, doesn't cost them an arm and a leg, and they understand the long-term consequences?